Okay, welcome to Boss Bitch Radio.
I was not ready.
It's okay. You're ready now.
I am. Let's go.
You just gotta go. We are talking about whether or not you should start preparing for your first bodybuilding show.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. If you're wanting to compete, you need to listen up. If you've been putting off doing the thing and saying that someday you're going to do it, turn up the volume. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Okay, so in today's podcast, we're going to talk about why yesterday was a good time for you to start if this is your goal, and the things that you need to think about when it comes to competing and why it's important that you start now. The first reason, are you ready?
Yeah.
Is that muscle hypertrophy takes time. Building muscle takes time.
Yeah, 100%.
And you want to start this process much sooner than later, because if you just decide that you're going to do a show in like 6 months or the end of the year and you've never touched a weight, you're going to be greatly disappointed when you lean out and you don't have any shape.
No shape.
Because it's not a skinny contest.
And then you're going to place low and you're going to be like, why?
What happened?
Why? And I'd be like,
Because you weren't lifting long enough.
You were a cardio bunny.
Yes. So the process of building muscle is going to take repetition, consistency, and there's going to be some other things we're going to talk about. We have 8 things to kind of go over here today. But if you just kind of willy-nilly, I love that word.
Willy-nilly.
Or here occasionally training and you're kind of, it's a recreational thing for you. It's best to give yourself some long runway, build that muscle before you decide to take on something like a competition.
Yeah, totally. I mean, even with that too, is the time that you put in for getting that lean, and to get that lean and still not have the muscle that you need to be competitive is not fun, right?
No.
But also to that point, it needs to be said that everybody has their first show, right? Now, biggest goal is probably can I at least look like I look the part? So that is why you want to start building muscle now. Start putting that into your brain that this is going to take a lot. Even if you are going to the gym 5 days a week and you're like, I'm doing all the things, you're not.
Yeah.
Unless you've competed before.
Yeah. And you have an idea of what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Right. The second thing is you have to sculpt the ideal physique for the division that you're going to be competing in. And you may not know that yet. And if you stick around, I'm going to talk to you about how you can figure that out. And hint, it involves me.
Yes.
But when you work with a coach or you want to compete, you need to know where you're going, right? It's like, you can't just get in your car without Siri and try to drive to New York and hope that you're going to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
You got a roadmap and you need to follow that. And part of that is sculpting the proper muscles that need to be built for that division. And that again is going to go hand in hand with number 1.
Every category is different. Every category is going to want you to grow something different, look different, be leaner, be not as lean, all of the things. So you need to know that. If you don't know, we gonna figure that out.
And that's a very important, probably foundational thing you need to figure out before you start. I mean, don't get me wrong, go lift weights and do some shit. But if you want to compete seriously and it is in the back of your head, it's in the pit of your stomach, I will not be happy unless I conquer this one thing, then it is in your best interest to figure it out, do your homework now so you can start laying down the appropriate muscles. The reason why this is important is I have taken on many an athlete who was kind of just doing whatever Joe Schmo's workout program from Instagram, some random dude that made a thing, this person over here, and they're doing a combination of programs. And if this is you, I'm glad you're doing something, but knock it off. Okay. If you want to compete, right? Because you really need to be dialed in for your specific physique,
right?
And not just some cookie cutter program, right?
Correct.
So
everybody's body is different. You are going to hold muscle and you're going to hold fat different than other people. Take us, for example.
Yeah.
We hold fat in different places. Okay. Also, I'm 4 or 5 inches shorter than her. So I'm going to need a different training program than her debating on like what we want our bodies to look like. So it's like when she was doing figure, her training was much different than mine. We might have been in the gym together, but we were not training together.
Yes, very good point.
You know what I mean? Because it depends on your category. We've gone over those in lots of the other podcasts as well, but bikini overall, symmetry top and bottom, wellness, bigger on the bottom, smaller on top, figure, bigger on top, smaller, well, still big on the bottom.
Yes.
But much bigger, wider on the top than all of the other categories. And so you have to kind of look at your body and think and see like, where do you want to go? Another thing that I also like to tell everybody is figure out the aesthetic that you want to look like. That is a big deal because if you don't necessarily want your body to look like that, I don't know if you're going to do well.
Well, and that actually, I have two things to say, but I want to start with that is a really good, it's just a really good thing to consider. Now, if you, and I think one way to do this, and I'm not like, I look at bodies very subjectively.
Right.
So I have zero like emotional attachment to things in some capacities, right? Because it's a competitive sport and that's what we're doing.
That's what you're asking for.
Right. But when you say that, like, oh, find the physique division that you want to look like, right? That's probably step one. Step two would be, I would say everyone's probably got their favorite Instagram influencer that they follow that's a competitor and this and that or whatever, that they love their physique. Look at their physique in the off season and see what that shape looks like in the off season, because not that yours is going to look identical, but if you like that aesthetic in both ways, then that's kind of a hint that that's how you should train, right? But there's a lot of other factors. There's genetics. There's a ton of other things. So don't get me wrong. This is just one little thing to consider.
Correct.
Because, you like for me, for example, right? If you see a figure girl, I love that aesthetic, right?
Yes,
I love figure. I love the athletic look to it and all of that. And just like knowing that people are just like staring. I love that part, right? However, in the off season, I don't like it. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me. And it's, I put on a little bit more than I should body fat.
Why is it uncomfortable?
It's uncomfortable for me because, one, I have breast implants, so I already have a larger chest, right? So my shirts already are, mediums in normal clothes or whatever. But in the off season, it's like everything is tight on my lats when I'm in figure. Everything feels like it's an armpit coffin. Like it's like cutting off the circulation in my armpits.
Pull forward.
I will rip a jacket like nobody's business, right? So all of that stuff, I do not like. I fucking hate that shit.
Right.
And I don't know. I just feel like it's just too uncomfortable for me. So that's something to consider. But again, to your point, yes, it's like genetics and also what do you want to look like. This is
also going to depend on your body structure as well. Like if you're built for figure and you're like, I want to be a wellness girl, you're going to need a lot of work.
Yeah. I tried that, remember? Yeah. I was delulu, as the kids say these days. I was very delulu. Wellness. Yeah.
And they're like, okay, you're going to need at least 2 years.
At least on a lot of fucking drugs.
Yes.
Let's be real. Okay. Yes. Not
at least at the pro level. Okay. Yes. If we're talking NBC, no, you do not need drugs.
Right.
However, some people
partake.
Yes.
Yes. Now, before we close out this one other thing that you have to consider that we've been talking about, which is sculpting the ideal physique. What I was saying earlier is I've had people come to me who were doing these mishmash of programs and they had overdeveloped muscles that were not going to be beneficial for them.
Like traps?
Yes.
Like traps.
Traps are overbuilt. Biceps are overbuilt. It's very rare, but you will see some women who really love to train their arms. Yes. And so their biceps are going to be way too big for bikini and wellness.
Yeah.
It's just very overpowered, or they really like to work their upper body, but they have no lower body. So it really is, you're like painting with a fine brush when it comes to bodybuilding, and you're trying to really hone in everything, right? Dialing in.
Yeah. There's lots of little details. So, if you need help with that.
I know some girls.
Couple.
Okay. The third one is, the reason why you should take your time, start now, is because you will need to progressively improve in your training, right? Like your weight training. Stronger. Yeah. And that's going to take some time if you have not been consistently weight training.
Yeah.
it's,
I feel like in the studio, so we get girls, they're like, oh, I work out, blah, blah, blah. Like they work out at the gym and all of that, which is fine and dandy and super great, but they don't usually have a plan. So when they come into the studio and they start training with us and they train like we do, it is like a whole new world. They are, sometimes nervous, sometimes excited, sometimes overwhelmed. Sometimes they're like, oh, these women in here are so strong. But what they don't understand is that all of those women, most of them, especially the ones that start with us, they start from point blank down at the bottom, and then we work them up pretty quickly. I think the one thing that is a really great thing about having a personal trainer is that they will look at you and they will say, no, I can see you. I see your strength. I see your muscles, and I know that you can go heavier.
Mm-hmm.
And then they are blown away within the strength that they have. Even these people that are with me for 6 weeks on the glute camp, we start at like a normal weight. Some of them are starting with like 60 pounds for a hip thrust. By the end of the 6 weeks, sometimes some of them are up in the 180s, 200s. I also have a couple of clients that have been with me for a long time, and I just had somebody do 360 the other day for controlled reps.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
And everybody in there was just awed about it. And it was amazing. It was so fun.
Yeah. So it's important for you to start soon, because in order to create that shape that you're going to need to be successful on stage, that is going to take, obviously, at the time, which we keep like beaten down in this episode, but also your training will need to reflect that, right? Like you should be seeing your lifts progress. You should be refining your training techniques and making sure that you're
engaging the right muscles, filling the right spots, not going so fast and trying to go heavy and then getting injured. Mm-hmm. And then what?
Yeah.
Then you're stuck.
Then you're back to square one, depending on your injury. But yeah, so got to get under that weight to change the shape of your body for a show. Okay. The next one is refining your posing techniques, which is something that gets lost on people, and they wait till the very last minute to start practicing. And you can always tell who those people are on stage. It screams loudly.
Yeah.
You look awkward. You look like a deer in headlights.
Unsure. Not confident.
I have been to, probably 100 bodybuilding shows at this point, and you can always spot out who is not practicing their posing. There's a lot of interesting things that happened to their bodies when they're not posing properly. I've seen girls up there doing the absolute wrong poses.
I've seen girls turn
wrong.
left.
Yes.
And they say quarter turn to the right.
I feel like the posing piece of it for me it's like dancing.
100%.
It's like dance. And so you can't expect to go out on the dance floor and do the fucking waltz if you haven't practiced that shit, right? Like a waltz competition nonetheless.
Yeah.
Right. So you go to a bodybuilding competition and you expect to execute a dance for the first time on stage. You're fucked. Okay. Like you're totally fucked. So you have to take the posing piece of it seriously with somebody who has an eye for what the judges are looking for and knows the divisions.
Yeah. If you are getting up there and your body looks amazing, but you can't pose, the girl who probably looks not as good as you is going to win if she can pose.
Yes.
So don't spend a year, 6 months, whatever you needed for your first, your 10th, your 100th prep, and then get out there and then not know how to show it off.
Yes.
You're wasting your time.
I know that it's a challenge for a lot of you who feel like you're not close to being ready and seeing your body in those poses. Mm-hmm. I feel that. I know that. I see you. Okay.
I just said this.
Yes. I see you. I understand that. And I want you to know that it's okay. Like everyone has to just rip the Band-Aid and just, we see it all the time. We hold posing clinics and workshops and things like that. And we have girls that are our athletes and not come in, and you'll see the girls who are like insist on wearing pants or insist on wearing shorts. And I'm like, great. I'm just glad you're here. You're starting the process, right? Tina Bauer, if you haven't listened to that episode with my client, Tina Bauer, we'll link it up in the show notes. She's one of my clients who's 56, and her first posing class, I will never forget. She called me and she was like on the brink of a panic attack. Like, I want to cry. I don't want to do this. Do you remember that?
No.
Well, she didn't. I mean, she'll tell you.
She was telling you, I'm
she
sure.
Will tell everybody this story because now she fucking parades around naked if you let her, right?
Yeah, if you let her.
But we had to just shove her off the ledge.
I mean,
and then it got easier and easier. You just have to get started. The people that are posing you are not going to make fun of you or think anything or whatever. They're just trying to get you in the right spots or whatever.
Yeah.
Because any good posing coach knows that if you're starting, we're just glad you're here and you're starting. And we know that this is not going to be your final form. So we're not critiquing that.
Right.
You know,
we're showing you the pose.
We're showing you how to dance.
Yeah.
Okay?
And then the thing too, like if you think this is not true, go to my Instagram and go find one of my first posing videos or find my last prep reel and watch how my face changes through all of my check-ins.
Yes.
In the beginning, first 2 months, I am not a happy camper every week trying to take those pictures. However, over the weeks and over the month, you start to see that things are changing. And then your body's like, okay, oh. And then you start looking at her and you're like, hey, all right, okay, girl. And then by the time your show is there, you're parading around practically naked if you let me.
Yeah. And I know that this is awkward for a lot of women, right? It's like, this is awkward. I just like the training piece. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
I like the workout piece. I like the diet doesn't bother me. It's this. And that will be the thing that ruins your success on stage. If the body comes to the show, right? Like if the body gets there and the body is like on point, if you can't pose your body properly, you are going to be fucked.
You know, the funny thing now is I'm even making my lifestyle clients kind of pose because I don't know about you guys, but if I'm like,
with your
like
arms out,
front, side, back, like I feel like a potato. But if I can like get into a pose, you know, your girl feels a little bit more sassy
because you create like an S shape and it's just very curvy, and even in the off season, it just looks better than just like a plain like I'm depressed. You know,
remember your progress photo?
Yeah.
Yes. Sticking your tongue out with your eyes all funny.
And by the way, if you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple, there is a YouTube video.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot to mention that at the beginning. But you can see us, our cute, adorable faces. So if you want to pause here and then go finish this over on the tube, and while you're doing your cardio, you know, you can find us there. But okay, next one. I think we're done there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next one is you want to make sure you give yourself enough time so that way you can prevent any kind of potential injuries.
I touched on this earlier.
Because you don't, again, what you were saying was like, you don't want to go all like balls to the wall and try to be lifting all the things because you're like, oh shit, I got a show in 5 months. I've never done this thing before. And then you start to end up with all these little aches and pains.
Yeah. I think a lot of the times, especially like some of our girls, even with, you know, weight training and us doing it the right way and going slow, there's a lot of aches and pains. We have a lot of knee injuries, a lot of people that get body work done. It's a very important thing. You know, if you're really lifting and doing all that, you need to do these self-care things. You need to see like a chiropractor every once in a while. You need to get a masseuse, you know, sports massage, all of these things, because if not, you're just breaking your body down and you're not doing anything to help it. That's another reason if you've been on Miss D's Instagram lately, she's been having glutamine. This is also helping in her recovery. So there's also a supplement side of things as well that you kind of work with to be able to get through this without having injuries, or at least trying to prevent them as much as we can.
Yeah, most definitely. Because if you think that you're just going to be able to barrel through 5 to 6 days a week of training and you've never done that before, but you signed up to do a show, you're going to be in for a world of hurt, like in a lot of ways. So just, yeah. Okay, next one, and this is probably one of the most important ones, is the nutrition piece of things. You may think you eat good, which we always talk shit on here on the podcast because we hear that all the time, and I'm like internally rolling my eyes when people tell me that. But you know, if you eat good and this and that, or you know how to do this thing, okay, great. Why haven't you done it? But I'm just saying, you're going to need time to adjust, and hopefully you're working with a coach
Yes.
to compete, but they're going to need time to like learn your body and what carbs work well and how your body adapts and changes, and the fluctuations in calories and stuff. And that's why I really sort of started implementing a hard and fast rule with our team, is that we will not put anybody into our prep for the first time unless we have 25 to 30 weeks.
Yeah.
Now that's 6 months. And that's not because we're trying to like have you on. No, it's because we have to do like a prep before the prep. We need to make sure that you are prepared before you really do the thing. And a few months of nailing down your nutrition and understanding that is super important in contest prep. But if you give yourself a long runway, even better. I'm going to have one of my clients on here very soon, Danielle, and she's going to share her story. She's been working with me for over a year, and I think we're down 15 pounds, but we needed her to drop weight to get to a specific spot before I was even ready to put her in prep.
Right.
And so now we're getting there, right? Like she's like 160 something now. She was in the 180, almost 180s, I think. And so we knew that we were going to need to take some time to do that. And I would not put her in a prep at 180 pounds and be like, okay, let's do this in 12 weeks. Like that's not realistic.
I would cry for her.
Yeah. And her body changes are great. You can see a nice difference in her physique. Her body's recomping and all those things. But again, I needed to get familiar with her body, her diet, her nutrition, her lifestyle, all that as a coach. And like that way I can also be a good coach to her.
Yeah.
Right. Like, okay, you're constantly not able to get your steps. You're constantly getting 4 hours of sleep a night.
Right.
Like things like that, which is not the case for her. But those things, like when you have a coach and you work for quite some time, you become a well-oiled machine. Like you clean up a lot of your bad habits. And to go from like 0 to 100, meaning 0 being like you're not doing any of this stuff and you think you're going to compete in 12 or 16 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a rude awakening.
Yeah. I actually have a client right now where she has been doing some of her own preps. And then I think she also had a coach as well. But she's one that did a prep in like 8 weeks. And I was like, how did you do that? Please share with the class. And she was like, hard and fast. And I go, okay, well, we're not going to do that because I want you to continue to hold on to your muscle so you can be competitive next year and compete to win, not just
compete to compete
or compete to get skinny. Because in reality, it's not a skinny contest. You have to have the muscle. You have to have the leanness. Sometimes depending on where you're at, you have to have not as much leanness and things like that. So it takes a lot.
Yes.
I think getting their food in check in the beginning, even with people who say, oh, I track macros, oh, I eat on a meal plan, a lot of the times they still need work just getting the regular basics. And that is sometimes, the thing where you're like, oh, well, they say, oh, I eat clean. And I'm like, well, I don't think you really know yet.
Yeah.
So we'll find that out.
Totally. Next one is mental preparation. What would you tell somebody like mentally prepare, like a year out, like what they should be doing right now?
Mentally preparing?
Yeah.
Get ready to do the things. Be prepared. I think the best thing that I've ever done is just schedule myself out, make sure that I have time to do the things, because if not, then my head would be all over the place. And if your head is all over the place, you are not able to focus on the things that you need to focus on.
Yes. And honestly, too, I think when you give yourself a longer time to prepare, you start to if you work with a coach like us, we start to help you see these little wins, even if you're like, oh, a year is so far. It's really not, you guys. It's almost fucking Christmas. Okay. Like how many times do you say that when it's like October and you're like, shit, it's almost Christmas. Like it goes so fast. And the time is going to pass anyways, right? Like somebody told me years ago, in like 2012, right when I was vacillating back and forth between being a competition coach, I was like, oh, people are coming to me. I don't know. I had already done like 5 or 6 shows. And I was like, I really want a little more education in nutrition. And so I did take a nutrition course through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. But the only reason why I did was I was thinking about it. And one of my clients was there and she said, it was like a boot camp class I was teaching. And she says, the time is going to pass anyways. So just do it. Like you've done harder shit. Like you have kids, like all this stuff. And I was like, okay, you're right. Right. So kind of the same thing. Like the time is going to pass. Just find somebody who can help you get there and don't like just worry about the implementation piece of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Just checking the boxes. That's literally all you have to do. You know, it's difficult, yes, because it takes pre-planning and extra things on your end. However, the more that you do it, the easier it becomes. And the more that these habits become just like a daily thing that you do.
Yeah.
Like there was a point in prep where I was prepping food every night, or I was prepping food every 4 days, or, you know, I just knew like on this day I needed to wake up and I needed to do this cardio. It just becomes natural. The problem is that people don't prepare themselves in advance. Or, you know, I think also another part of this is that prep is fucking hard.
Yeah.
It is hard on you. It's hard on your body. It's hard on your family. It's hard on your friends. You have to sacrifice a lot of things. So yes, by all means, this is the funnest fucking thing I've ever done and the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's also the most rewarding thing. So there is times in prep where you go a little Looney Tune.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of things that we kind of go over, you know, it's that you're choosing to do this. Your people and your family or whoever is around you did not choose this. So you do not get to treat them badly because of the way that you feel.
Yes. And I think part of like, that's part of like preparing your mindset around it is really like developing a sense of like boundaries with people and starting to understand that, because when you go into a prep and you've been like a social butterfly your whole existence or whatever, even if you're like lightly social, you're very social.
Hi.
But even if you're like a lightly social person where you like to go out, you know, at least one night on the weekends or a couple nights a month.
Once a month.
Yeah. It's when you start moving into a healthier lifestyle, it's not that you can't do those things, but if you want to compete, that's kind of the next level.
Yeah.
There are sacrifices you have to make, and you will need to start getting used to saying no to some things, getting used to understanding how to dine out if you are in a social situation.
Right.
So if you give yourself plenty of time, you can start to learn how to do that, right? Working with a coach on your macros and all that, and making sure you don't eat like an asshole on the weekends, all that stuff. It's actually going to make your prep so much better, because you will have, hopefully by giving yourself plenty of time, have developed again that routine, those habits.
Right.
Maybe you've dropped some body fat in the process. Hopefully that's the case. And then your prep won't be as alarming when you get your plans from your coach and they're like, you know, you're in the gym 5 days, you're in doing cardio this many days, you're already like acclimated to a level of responsibility to your program.
Yeah.
Or accountability, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing too, is it's like, don't spend the money on the coach and not do the things they're telling you. You are literally paying that coach to tell you the things that you don't know how to do. And I'm pretty sure that it's probably not your coach's first time. And if it is,
you're the guinea pig.
Be careful. Yeah. I mean, it's fine. Everybody's got to have a first client at some point. You know, if that's what it is, then great. However, just make sure that you are also listening to your body. You know, if you cannot communicate with your coach, you have a problem.
Yeah, you have to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to touch back a little bit more on training again, more so just to stress the importance of when you give yourself more time, if you are wanting to compete, it allows your coach to tailor your training and more appropriately for your physique, rather than just being like, I don't know how much muscle you have. I don't know what you're capable of. Let's give you this program and hope for the best in 12 or 16 weeks that you get on stage and like, we've done enough, right? The thing that is probably the most important thing to take away from this podcast is that you will definitely, I don't know what I was going to say.
What? Customized training.
Oh my God. What the fuck? It was like right there.
How did you just lose that? I didn't even interrupt you.
I don't know. We're talking about customized training. What was
yes.
I don't know. It'll come back to
Throwing just a thing and hoping for the best? No?
Yeah.
Ay. Anyways, everybody's body needs different training.
Oh,
right?
I know what I was going to say.
Okay, good. Thank God.
Okay. So the reason why the training is important is because, or starting early is important, and we keep talking about time, is because if you take anything away, the most important thing you need to know is that contest prep is not the time when you are building muscle.
No.
Okay. That is
No.
not like, oh, I'm going to do a show and I'm going to look jacked and all the things that you're usually, I mean, maybe you can still kind of build in the first month or two, but not really, right? So the contest prep time frame or period of time is the time that's used to strip back your body fat and push as much as you can in terms of, getting lean for whatever division you're in.
Fat loss.
And continuing to like keep your muscles happy and stimulated and preserve the muscle you have. Very unlikely you're going to put on too much muscle during a prep phase because you're in a calorie deficit and likely doing a lot of exercise.
Yeah.
So that is the main reason we are here today, is to tell you that that is not where you build muscle, is not in contest prep.
No.
For some males, yes. If you are on PEDs, which are performance enhancing, physique enhancing drugs, it's possible. But again, as a female, natty, none of those things, that's not likely happening. We're just trying to get you lean. The real work is happening when you're in the other phase of your training.
Right.
Which is considered the off season. But
improvement season.
Yes. But you got to start now.
Yeah.
You will now be starting your journey.
I feel like this also goes to show is that like you need to put the muscle on and you need to eat the food first before you go into a cut. Now, there are people that have been training and, maybe they can do like a little improvement season or like a pre-prep before the prep before they actually go into prep, and you can kind of see where their muscle is. But in reality, you're not going to be gaining any muscle while you're in your prep. And if you do not have the main muscle to kind of start there, or even the food intake enough, we're most likely not going to put you into a prep yet.
Yeah.
If you come to us at 1,200 calories and you're like, I'm ready to go into a prep, I'm like, no. Thanks.
Correct. Yeah.
But
there's
no.
nowhere to pull from. And you're likely.
What we'll do is we'll put you into a prep to up your calories, put you into a reverse.
Yeah.
Get you lifting heavier, get you eating more, and then putting on some muscle at that point. Then when we feel like you're at a good spot, with your weight and your body and what you have with muscle and all of that, then we'll think about putting you into a 30-week prep.
Mm-hmm.
I said it.
Which leads to, and actually goes into the next one, which is giving yourself more time starting now. If you're wanting to compete within like a year, it will also improve your health. And by that, this is also part of it, right? What
Right.
Glitter is talking about is your metabolic health.
Yes.
Is if you give yourself plenty of time, then you can work with your coach. Your coach can see like where you're at with your current calories. If they're super low and you're still not losing weight, there's other things we need to be detectives about to figure out where the problem is. Because if you go to a coach, you're eating 1,200 calories, you're already doing a shitload of cardio, your body's not changing, you're not losing any weight, and they decide, well, let's just put you into our prep, that's incredibly irresponsible. Because
They have no care for your health at all.
yes, your health is just going to get worse. Your hormones are going to be terrible coming
You'll
out of that.
probably start getting sick more often.
You probably
Yeah.
lose your period. Your hormones are going to be a disaster. You're probably going to thrash your thyroid.
You're probably still not going to lose weight.
Yes, you're
Just so you know.
going to get very little return on that effort that you put in at the
Right.
gym and in your cardio and reducing your calories. And you're likely binging. Let's be real.
Yeah.
It's probably causing some other issues. So starting with more time is going to improve the overall journey for you in bodybuilding, the longevity of bodybuilding, and also your health in the process.
Right.
And last but not least, most importantly, prep, going into a contest prep is not where you build muscle and do all the things. It's where you strip down from all the work you've already done.
Yeah.
So anything else to add there?
No, that was great.
Okay, I thought so too. So if you are curious about how long something like a contest prep should take you, right? And
You
again,
personally,
you out there listening, you out there on YouTubes, if you are curious, like, I want to do this thing, I want to know how long it's going to take me, realistically, what division I should be doing, what should I be focusing on? I do physique assessments. You'll submit your photos, you give me a lot of your intake information, and I look at the person holistically as well. Like, I will literally tell you, this is not a time, this is not a season. If this is how your life looks normally,
right?
because it'll ask you, like, what do you do for a living? What does your day usually look like? Like, all these things. I will say these are red flags, these are yellow flags, and these are green flags.
Right.
I like to see mainly green flags, maybe a couple yellow flags, like, oh, you have low steps, or, you know, you sleep 6 hours a night. And I'm like, okay, those are things we can work on. But if you're like constantly stressed, you work 4 jobs, like all this stuff, I'm going to tell you, no.
Yeah.
No, boo-boo. Okay. But physique assessment, it's all done online. We'll link it up in the show notes or in the description. I will send you a talking head video of myself.
We love those.
Going through your physique and detailing out everything for you, even as far as the current your training you're doing and cardio, and how that would change for you, and sort of set expectations of what a prep would look like and a duration. Links in the bio. Do it. That's how we get most of our clients to get on board and set them up for success. And of course, if you have anybody who is interested in competing, that's maybe a friend of yours, and they haven't listened to this episode, you need to send it to them, because they need to understand the importance of starting before you're ready.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just like make it an idea of like, I'm going to compete this year. I'm like, no, you're probably not.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Get in the gym, bitch.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you. If you're not following us over on the gram, make sure to do that.
Please.
Okay. Why are you listening to us and not our friend over there? Hello.
Yeah, we post all kinds of fun stuff.
All kinds of fun stuff. I'm Diane Flores, IFBB. Wait, no. I am Diane Flores _IFBB_pro. It'll be in the show notes. And
Amanda Glitters. I'll keep that shit easy for y'all.
Yeah. There's no underscores or anything.
Nope.
All right. Peace, you guys. We love you. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.